Well, I was initially going to end up making a video that was on what I thought of Linux after using it for 2 years, but a different thought occurred to me that was way more interesting in my mind, so I scratched that itch for the better part of today. I'd like to talk about how it doesn't feel as though that people are really personal anymore. I'm not entirely certain when I started to first notice it. I know that it was feeling off probably around late high school, but it was definitely more so of a thing that I noticed in really ever since the pandemic for sure, and I think a lot of people started to notice it then as well. But the first example that I can recall that really clued me in on it was having friends and then another friend and then another friend that I had known for years really just not advance the friendship anymore. Or maybe it wasn't so much of advancing, it was we both had started to be able to fully define ourselves as people, and we could see very quickly that we had our differences and ideals, understandings, etc., etc. And with those differences and with those different ideals, I guess I started to end up seeing progressively more and more that any kind of friendship to be had there was going to end up needing to overcome those differences. And that can certainly happen. I'm not saying, unfriend somebody because you have differences. Nobody is the same, and that's the way that it should be. But what I did notice is that in examining the over decade that I had known him at the time, I couldn't really tell you anything about them. But I really didn't know them as a person up until they really started to make it in my face obvious that this is what I believe. And perhaps that's partly because it was a childhood friend that you end up getting these ideas or things that really start to define you later. And during childhood, everybody has the same sense of commonalities and stuff. So it's significantly less of a barrier, I suppose, to be friends with somebody who's relatively your age at childhood than it is when you're an adult. And then there's more qualifications beyond just that friendship that need to align in order to really click with that person, in my observation anyway. But that started happening with a lot of friends that I had had for a long time. I would kind of be talking with them and then just ask that question, do I even really know anything about you? And for many of them, I really don't. And in thinking about it, I can't recall really a time in the entirety of knowing them that anything deeper than just superficial stuff has ever come up. And when it does, it still remains on the surface level. But I've known them for a very long time, and when I say that I've known somebody, in my mind, that really means that I know more than just them as a person and that they exist. To know somebody, for me at least, is to have a decent idea of their aspirations, their goals in life, some of their struggles, some of their weaknesses, what they think that they could be doing better on, what they don't think that they're doing well enough on, and struggle with trying to do even a tiny bit more. And it's a weird feeling when you take the moment to actually look and you don't have anything to show for it. Because really, the only people that I would consider friends that were personal in my childhood, my elder family members, not actual friends of my age or even close to my age. And the friends that I have kept, there are definitely days that I wonder why we are friends, what connects us more than just the fact that, we both like to play video games, or we both like to talk about cars or engines, this computer thing, or that political thing, or this religious thing, or this, that, or the other thing. Beyond that, what actually connects us as friends? And maybe it's my idea of friendship being way too personal than what is the typical thing. Maybe that is truly a me thing, and I'm the only one to think that. But when I read stories about camaraderie and brotherhood and just all of these instances of people coming together to be solid friends, to look out for each other, to be there at a moment's notice regardless of the time, that kind of friend, I don't see that. And I don't know if it's the friends that I chose, if it's the lack of conversations that we did or didn't have, or that they didn't go as deep as they should have gone. Because you can find a stranger at, whether it be at a Chuck E. Cheese, laser tag, or whatever else, and have the thing that you both unanimously enjoy doing at the same time being the activity that you both went there to go do, and then ultimately leave and never see each other again. So finding that level of friendship, in air quotes, isn't hard. And doing it for a decade or more only ends up really, to me, acting like long-term strangers. That personal connection that I could get from my elder family members that oftentimes were well into their 60s and sometimes even 80s, they would be very personal. They would tell you their life story oftentimes without hesitation, and all of it had great meaning to them, and that they were willing to share it unapologetically, that this is who they are as people. As it is nowadays, people are willing to share stuff online with pretty much every single stranger, let alone AI. They'll share their deepest, darkest secrets with AI, but they won't share a lick of any of it with a therapist or psychiatrist, let alone their parents or family members that they, in air quotes, trust. But they'll share it with strangers and AI. Nobody shares in person anymore either, as though privacy is all of a sudden something that matters when, like I said, you're willing to share it elsewhere. I've also noticed that conversations really don't get anywhere anymore. But conversations, as of late, I have definitely noticed, are about the length of a typical cartoon. You could literally be talking about any topic, and no matter how interested the person is, it almost feels as though they are going to cut you off the second that it is around that time. 20 to 30 minutes is about the max that I see. Perhaps it's something that I'm just predisposed to because I do like to talk and I like to learn and I like to know and understand things that I don't. But it is very foreign to me to limit a conversation because it's reaching depth. But if we're just going to be talking for the sake of talking and then we're done, then what's the point in talking at all? Because my whole point is if we're going to have a discussion, we're going to have a discussion. And we're going to reach as deep as the conversation can go because that is the whole point. If we're going to have an argument, same thing. Definitely felt as though that people don't want to have conversations. It could be me. I could totally see that. But even with something that they're interested in, like I said, I like to know and learn things that I don't understand or didn't previously know. And yet, even with something that somebody is genuinely interested in, if I get somebody to talk about it, their talking capacity about the thing that they're quote-unquote passionate about may only last 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not sure if the word passion has changed since it was initially added to the dictionary, but if passion is only the thing that you can muster for 5 minutes, I'm not certain it's a passion. It may be a hobby. I wouldn't call it a passion. I really do want more personal discussion and not just tell me about your work or tell me about what it is that you want to go do or what you have done. And when we reduce conversations to a bragging party, I think we miss so much real conversations that could be had. That's just me anyway. I would like to see the personal side of conversations again, more consistently, and not have to talk to old people in order to get conversations that are real. Well, hopefully that wasn't too long of a rant or a complaint. I hope you all enjoyed the video. See you later.